To me, it seems more and more likely that Lilith, as Rosie, gave Alastor the power she did so that he could support her musically in a new age. It would be Alastor playing Lilith's music all over the radio and setting up this idea that hell needs to resist through her art. But as soon as Lilith was able to make the deal to get into heaven, seemingly 7 years ago when she vanished from her family, she would force Alastor to go off the air as well. Now, Rosie might seem like a strange alternate identity for someone like Lilith to have, but it makes sense for a lot of reasons. First and foremost, Lilith is known for having demonic offsprings, a lot of which are described as cannibalistic, with the offspring of her husband Lucifer, or as he's known in Jewish Kabbalah, Samael, being called cannibals as well. In the Book of Enoch, this is the story of the fallen angels who impregnated human women like Lilith that gave birth to giants known as Nephilim. These were half angels, half humans so big that they ate all of the food in the land and then turned to the smaller humans with non-angelic lineage to eat them. What's interesting is that the leader of the fallen angels, Samael, or our Lucifer, is claimed to have impregnated none other than Eve herself, leading to the birth of Cain. Adam, meanwhile, impregnated Eve after this, leading to the birth of their second son that we see in the show, Abel. Now, for those who don't know, the biblical story was Cain killing Abel out of jealousy, which the Zohar interprets as the fault of the fallen angels, because Cain, as we said, was descended from them in the later Jewish tradition. Now, these tangential connections are all important because in some folk traditions, Cain is claimed to have not just killed Abel, but to have eaten him as well, with the false claim that our word cannibal actually comes from the combination of the names Cain and Abel, cannibal. And while that's not true, the point is that if Lilith was going to take on a second identity in hell, it makes sense that it would be one with strong connections to cannibalism, and potentially with control over so many cannibalistic demons. With the idea that Rosie might secretly be Lilith, it makes a lot more sense now looking back at what we saw in season 1. While Charlie did have to do a bit of her own singing in order to convince the cannibals, Rosie basically expected Charlie to be able to do this no problem. We know a large majority of the cannibals have some sort of debt to Rosie or see her as a leader, and it would make sense that she would have basically prepped them to be ready for this kind of battle as soon as all of her pieces were in the right place, such as with Charlie. Now, even if Rosie isn't Lilith, there is a lot of reason why Rosie might have a similar vendetta against Heaven as Lilith and want to mess things up. But if she is Lilith, it would make sense that all she really wants is to continue attacking Heaven no matter what. At first she did this with music, which would have been even easier in the 1930s once Alastor came in with the power to control radios. By making a deal with him, she would be able to sing people into an uprising against Heaven, even as they begin to do the annual exterminations. At some point about 7 years ago, Lilith would be offered the chance to enter Heaven, but only if she stopped her music and the radio broadcasts. Even getting just her music off the air may not have been enough, however, and when she disappeared, Alastor was made to disappear too, so her message wouldn't continue from someone in her employ. From In Heaven, however, I don't think Lilith would be done with this, and I think she would be escaping to play the role of Rosie part-time, playing both sides against each other in order to eventually bring them both down and perhaps rule over them all. All in all, the idea that Lilith is secretly Rosie would be quite a sad reveal, as even with all the help that Rosie is giving to the Hazbin Hotel, it doesn't mean that Lilith actually loves Charlie and wants her to succeed. As right now, it just seems like she's trying to pit the two against each other in order to get her own way. But what do you guys think? Rosie has had such a complex history, with a lot of what was said about her behind the scenes being by previous Hazbin Hotel workers in early live streams that isn't necessarily true. But even back then, it was said that Rosie never died the way sinners do apparently, and the only other character that this seems to be true for is also Lilith, a human who never died, but who became something a bit more while in hell.